Okay, couple gremlins in the studio tonight, but thank you guys for being patient and holding on. We're getting ready to go live in just 5 minutes. We're starting this week's installment of Coast to Coast with Chris Simmons and Michael Lichter. Going to be a fantastic show. They have a killer guest lined up tonight. Brittany Olson from 20th Century Racing. Fantastic conversation. Can't wait for this one. But hey, you still have time. Hit the like and share button. Help us get this out to everywhere on the motorcycle planet so that they know we're going live with Coast to Coast in just 5 minutes. Want to give some shout outs real quick. Mike Draco first across the line tonight. Walter Benarski in from New Jersey. Jason Sims, he's on. Keith Kronoff, Amish Country. Jimmy Bradley, Milwaukee, Wisconsin. Jason Sims wanted to be the first person to comment. You missed it by a mile, my man. Nancy Weems in the house. Shanker GR, hi to you, brother. Steve Rules riding to TMMR and listening to the program. Pleasure to have you here, Poppy. Helen Greger, she's in the house. David Crum, damn gremlins, I know. God, I was sweating bullets on this one. Brian Pelletier, Swansea, Mass, checking in. Leanne Sims with us. Rick Rodriguez from New Jersey. Rob Nussbaum, Bob Johnson. Boy, you guys are quick, man, piling in. Coast to Coast, going live in just 3.5 minutes. I'm Chris from Cycle Source Magazine. It's my pleasure to be your engineer on this evening's show. But 3 minutes from now, I'm going to get out of the way and let the professionals take over. Stick around, don't go anywhere. Grab a cold drink, get ready to go Coast to Coast. Hey, special shout out to Mustafa in with us tonight. Good to see you here, buddy. Good night. It's going to be a fantastic night. Seems like everybody's on their way to Tennessee. That's going to be a hell of an event. I know Michael's chomping at the bit to get out there. We got a lot going on this summer, though. It's going to be a fantastic summer. Things are starting to open back up. Motorcycle riding was always open, so we're good there. Coast to Coast, going live in 2 minutes. You still have time to hit the like and share button. Special thanks to our family and friends over at Cycle Source for carrying the feed. Same out to Chopper Town. They're fantastic for us. And man, I got to tell you, if you're bored and you've already finished Netflix like me, head over to Chopper Town because they have a whole library of programs like this. And not just that, they got some full-length feature films, some documentary stuff you guys are really going to dig. Right on. Mustafa said, Road Buddies, MC Libya. That's so crazy. We got somebody from Libya. 1.5 minutes, and we're going live with Coast to Coast. You know, I sit in the studio chair here for hours, man, putting all these different shows together, and I always wonder, I'm like, you know, is this important work that I'm doing? Because you want your work to be important, you know? And every time I look up here and I just see this community that we've collected, it just answers yes over and over again, man. I want to thank each and every one of you for making this show and all of our offerings from the Source Media Group successful through COVID and beyond. Man, I just fills my heart with joy to do this stuff. So thank you guys. And with that, we're heading down to the 30-second mark. You know what that means here in the studio. 30 seconds means it's time to get this one out of the barn and up onto the racetrack. It's time to go live with this week's installment of Coast to Coast. Here we go.
Hey everybody, welcome to Coast, the show for women in motorcycling. Right on. I'm sorry we got a little late start tonight, but thank you for hanging in there with us. Let's see what's going on in Boulder with Michael Lichter. Come on down.
I don't know, Chris. The horses are louder than you are. They're creating a storm out there in the barn, huh? In the
Talking about
stable.
the barn, you're getting ready to leave, huh? How's it?
I'm getting well, you're in California. How's that going? How was
That's
your trip?
awesome. I got on the plane. It was so fun to go somewhere and someplace new. And I was at the San Francisco airport and got to visit my motorcycle, which is at the exhibit there at the San Francisco airport.
I saw that picture of you. It was great.
Yeah, I got my nose prints on the glass. They're wiping that off.
I got pictures of that from other people that have flown through there. Like Andrea LaBarbera went through there. She being a pilot, she sent me a picture of herself and some other friends flying through San Francisco. So I guess it's getting seen.
Yeah, like everybody that I know that goes through there sends me pictures, so I get one every couple of days from different angles, from different people. It's so cool. Yeah, I should make a
That's awesome.
out of it. But
I have
hey,
to have to say I was a little jealous. You were riding from Healdsburg and hanging out there, and then off to where you are now at your house and
yeah,
ordering food in. And sounds like you're on vacation to me.
yeah. Checking out the ocean and said hi to my other motorcycles, and just I've been here about 8 months, so it's pretty awesome to come back home up here. And guess what? This is our 40th show.
Wow! But who's counting?
There you go. Like, who's counting, right? I mean, we're having so much fun. It's just like seems like we just started doing this, but I guess during COVID, it was one really great thing that happened for us. It kind of gave us time to work on doing
I
something.
know, crazy. It actually seems like right now I am so friggin' busy I can't get over it, and uh, I'm going like, how am I going to put all this together? My chops aren't there yet. I got to get them up, but cameras are ready and flying to through the airport tomorrow.
You're talking to someone who never unpacked. I would go home and do my laundry and throw it back in the suitcase because we travel so much, and it felt a little uneasy, just kind of like, gosh, is this what it feels like to go somewhere, But anyway, it was pretty cool. And no, I didn't get to touch my motorcycle because it's behind glass.
Wow.
And pictures, and then I had to leave.
Wow.
Wait,
Well, I am excited to be flying out tomorrow to the Tennessee Motorcycle Revival. They're going to be on the commercial break. We have a commercial from them, and again, thanks to Dennis Kirk. They gave me an assignment. This is like a new world that all of a sudden it's like a magazine assignment, but it's for a company, and they're going to put it on their blog and treat
wow.
it like a magazine. So that's really cool. I'm excited to be trying this.
You got a real job. Thank you, Dennis Kirk. Just
Yeah.
don't take him away from me.
And Sean's coming too, so the two of us
Oh,
get to
Sean,
go and
great.
yeah.
Awesome. Hey, I have to tell you, I
Oh, look at that. Oh, and I do have a new post up today, Sturgis in the 1980s. I know everybody thinks
oh,
80s is just big hair, which I mentioned in my little article there, but there's a lot more than big hair going on. So do check it out on the Dennis Kirk blog if you get a chance. I put a lot of effort into these. It's a real long form story.
that was my
So,
first year. I think it was 81.
yeah.
So yeah, it's kind of like I was there and I didn't have big hair. I just had long hair and braids. So I didn't have the big hair. But hey, there's some really cool events. And I have to tell you before I forget, I spoke to one of my Lita friends today. You want to crash the Lita party? You want to go to one of these women's?
Yeah.
You're welcome to go as long as you're sponsored by a woman.
Can I
Oh,
get an amen?
There
we'll
you
go
go.
together, right?
I can go.
I'll go with Catherine. Catherine will sponsor me.
Yeah, well, and they would let you in because you take pictures and stuff too. So hey, you're going to Tennessee Motorcycle Music and Revival. That's what it's called, right?
Motorcycle and music revival. Yep.
Okay, I have to tell you.
And also, you got to mention when once you mention that, you have to mention the Bill Dodge Moto Invitational. It's actually the BC Moto Invitational for Bling Cycles. So he invites, I think it's like 35, maybe more custom builders. So there's going to be a great show that they do every year. And Bill is coming back. So he's still got a lot of work to do on his rehab, but he's going to be there. And we're real excited to see him and the show he's putting on.
Right. And there's a women's event going on, Maiden Moto Art Show, put on by Savannah Rose. I have to tell you, my little friend Savannah. And
Where's that at?
it's going to be at the it's at the Tennessee. Wait, is that hers? I'm sorry, I think I got it messed up.
Oh,
Yep.
is it
No,
there?
no,
It
that's
could be there.
door in Tennessee. It is. She's
Yeah.
actually exhibiting the art of Ray Dre, I believe.
Right, Ray Dre is going to be there too. But I think what's happening is, yeah, she's going to be there at the Tennessee thing. And I
Yeah,
think
I did see her post.
yeah, the Maiden Moto. There you go. And there's another one, another women's motorcycle show. It's the at the Texas Motor Speedway. That's the one that's the inside the NASCAR garage.
Oh, right. That's the Komodo, I believe, isn't it? Their big event.
Yeah, that's Alicia, who I think is going to be on our show coming up.
Cool.
Yeah, I think I got it.
All righty.
Up.
And
Yes.
I don't think I want to mention Sturgis today because I'll freak out because I have so much work to do. So
No, you have to pack up, but you'll be doing it, so no worries. Anyway, let's get on to our guest tonight. I'm so excited to have Brittny Olsen on, as you know, because she's a good friend of both of ours, and we've seen her grow and change and just have so much fun at what she does, and she's so passionate. So let's bring on Brittny Olsen.
excellent.
Oh. Hey there. There you
Hey,
are.
everybody.
How's it going?
Very well. The weather is really beautiful. May is like the biggest month for our family because Grandpa Carl, his birthday is May 1st, and then Matt's birthday is May 22nd, and Locke's is May 24th. So we have a 3-generation month, and then my brother and my dad's birthdays are beginning and ending of April. So it's like just a big, huge birthday party for April and for May, but definitely for May. So last weekend we just hosted a birthday party for 49 little kids at the arcade because that's just how many friends Lockheed had. And we sent out, we had more RSVPs. I mean, you guys were both at our wedding too. It was the same thing for our wedding. We had more RSVPs than we had sent out actual invitations. So
it's just the coolest weddings. You know, how many people get the wall of death at their wedding? Okay.
Right.
I mean,
That was cool. What a memory that was, huh?
Matt and I were standing in line at the Zipper, and we had not even told our parents that we were getting married and that we were already planning it. Basically from like the beginning, before we became boyfriend and girlfriend, like we both really knew that I liked antique motorcycles. He liked antique motorcycles. It was something that we never really experienced before. And so we knew from like the first interactions of hanging out that we could get along, we could create memories, you know, it was like just like the perfect fit. And I remember, you know, I just remember really looking at certain people, and especially when they were involved with like motorsports or racing, they had just this special bond where it was like a husband and a wife. And I remember like meeting Matt, and the very first weekend I had told him about these plans about an Excelsior board tractor that I wanted to build. Now my dad thought I was crazy, and he's like, well, you know, they still race those. And I had no idea. Like, I thought it was just something, you know, maybe you could bring out, do an exhibition, you'd be the only one there, and then it would just sit in your living room for the rest of the year, you know.
Let's go back earlier. You started out with the bicycle thing. You were like,
right,
tell me about Betty Bicycle. Was that your first handle? Then I remember.
Yeah. So the best thing about this being through Cycle Source, a lot of Cycle Source readers will know this, that before really anybody knew me as Brittny Olsen, or even Brittany Worth's my maiden name, everybody only associated me with Betty Bicycle. So still to this day, there are some of those really early fans, and they remember me from building motorized bicycles.
So I got to mention here that I promised Brittany that I would not show a picture of her on her Stingray bicycle tonight.
No,
Because I believe I have a pretty amazing picture of her in a bikini on a Stingray bicycle at the Buffalo Chip in 2009.
2009, yep.
Okay, so we'll just leave that to people's imagination because I'm not going to show it tonight.
Yes. You know,
So I photographed you before your husband even met you, I think.
Yes. Well, actually, he met me that year, and the very first night that we met, because, you know, he had I didn't know whether he introduced himself through Facebook. So I thought I was getting catfished by maybe some younger AMCA member because I was going to the local AMCA meetings before I even met Matt in Sioux Falls at the Great Plains chapter. So I was like, am I getting catfished? Because these guys are like, yeah, you need to talk to that young kid named Matt. He'll teach you how to weld. He knows all the stuff about Excelsiors. And I kept asking them about Excelsiors and Popes and Thors.
Okay,
And
you gotta stop right there. For people who don't know, what is the catfish thing all about?
So catfish is like where you go onto Facebook and you pretend to be someone that you're not, and then you try to meet up with them or get them to send you pictures, or you start this like internet thing where they never meet you, but you totally fake being someone else. Because I mean, Matt's thing said he was from 90210 Your Backyard, Los Angeles, and I was like, oh my gosh, this is not Matt Olson. Excuse me, I got
a lot of fun, but it's kind of creepy.
Yeah, so I mean, that's kind of our day and age that we live in, though. Like where we're just like, oh my gosh, is this really is this a trick or is somebody tricking me? But no, it ended up really being Matt Olson, and he says that he met me and I was really sweet and kind, but I don't remember meeting him. I probably just kind of
so you weren't sweet and kind, but you remember meeting him. Okay.
Yeah. For our listeners that may not know Brittany, because we really didn't give her the intro she deserves, I'd like to at least say that for anyone that is not aware of Brittany Olson, she is an champion antique racer. We've seen her take the podium at the Sons of Speed race and at other places. She's a restorer working with her husband and the folks at Carl's Cycle Supply in Aberdeen, South Dakota, where they are the knucklehead wizards of all time and all place. And also she champions her 20th century racing, from which she did events, and she held the Spirit of Sturgis race, which she's not doing right now. And she did race a lot. She's semi-retired. She's going to still do some. But I wanted to give that back up. She's been married to Matt, I believe, since about 2012. We mentioned the Wall of Death, and Matt, of course, is quite the reputation. There's Matt when he was 10 years old. Right? I like to give him
Matt's been on motorcycles his whole life. Yes.
Yeah. So I mean, Matt grew up in it. And so really a lot of what I'm hoping and we're hoping to look at tonight and to talk about is really what it's like to be involved in a life of motorcycles. You're in a family of motorcyclists. It's the family business, and it's been for now looks like it may go to a third generation even. So that's where we'd like to go. But I wanted to do that before we start in. Then maybe Chris has some questions going back to your earlier history. Chris?
Oh, I thought you were going to.
No, I thought maybe you had some questions. You want to go back to her personal history now.
Well, I was just going to ask her about what it's like to be a mom in the motorcycle world, too, because I do know what it was like for me when I was doing it back in the 70s and 80s. And, but definitely, I think just starting out with, you pretty much just did the whole intro for her. So that's really cool. I know her background was the bicycle thing, and then she met Matt. And then, take it from there, Brittany. Michael just asked you a long question. Do you remember what it was?
Well, it wasn't really a question. It was just an intro. And I said, maybe you have some questions for her. I'll start. Tell us how you first got involved with motorcycles.
Right.
So my first involvement with motorcycles, I have always been able to ride. My grandpa, when I was 3, started putting me on a little like pit bike and small dirt bikes. And it wasn't something that I felt like I couldn't do. I was just taught, trained, I could do it. I felt more comfortable and like edgier with 4-wheelers and go-karts as I grew up, because I had just kind of this like preconceived notion that if I were to ride crazy, or if I were to ride like if I was like racing motorcycles, the chances are I could crash and get hurt really bad. So just don't do it. So my entire childhood, I always played it safe when it came to motorcycles. And then I had started this like passion and love for racing when I was a really young girl. I was 3 years old. I met Shirley Muldowney. This is a pretty well-known story. A lot of, if you just Google Brittany Olson, there's plenty of stories on how I met Shirley Muldowney and everything about that. But from that point in my life, I knew that I could be a racer. So it didn't matter if it was horses or on foot or you know, in a go-kart or four-wheeler or a car, I mean, even monster trucks, I would watch the monster truck events and I'm like, oh, I could do that. You know, I was so inspired just to be involved in motorsports one way or another. And, but my main passion and focus was always drag racing. And I was a hot rodder. I would build motors with my dad. I would work on cars with my dad. And we would work on cars and build cars, not motorcycles. And then in 2007, we were like on this brink of the like recession of that time. And I was just graduating high school and going into college. And the only thing on my mind was, how am I going to be able to afford this and drag racing? I was working multiple jobs and trying to just kind of make ends meet. And I decided to focus on school, get done with that. And in that time period, for Christmas at Walmart, they were selling these little like Schwinn branded remade bicycles. They were made in China, but you could just buy them right off the shelf. And I think it was like it was definitely under $100, but it was like $68 or $69 if I remember correctly. So I bought that. And my dad throughout that, you know, that spring kind of kept telling me, hey, you should look for engine kits on eBay, because you could easily put a motor on this and turn it into a little motorized bicycle. They had whizzers like that back in the day, and it would be really cool to do. And so over a few weeks, we, you know, looked on eBay, we found a simple kit that would fit the bicycle. Again, that was like $72 at the time. So we built this little motorized bicycle, and it really it gained a lot of attention. And I didn't realize this until I went to Sturgis in 2008, and I had brought this motorized bicycle with me. And at this time I was working downtown. And so I was focused more in the city of Sturgis and being around downtown. And the funny thing about that is I would get stopped every single block, sometimes even like by 4 people in that one block, and photographers and everybody wanting to take a picture of me on this bicycle, people asking for brochures, wondering where did I get this motorized bicycle. And I thought it was so crazy, because here I had built it with my dad in my mom's living room, and I'm like scratching my head going, and it was so cheap. I was like, how come people don't just build their own? And it was at that point that I realized that it was something marketable. You know, I have friends that were touring musicians. They thought it was really cool because you could fold down the ape hangers, and then you have little motorized bicycles they can store under the bus. It fit perfectly. So that was it was something that I didn't really think that I was a motorcycle builder then. And I remember that in 2009, that's when I got to meet Chris Callan and Pat Patterson, Mark Persichetti, their friend Kevin. I mean, I met so many people that were like, you built this? That's crazy. You're like a motorcycle builder, and you're our next generation. We need to we need more women in this in this community. And so I just got kind of this warm hug from 2009 into the Cyclosaurus family and into the Lead Sled family. And since I was like 14 years old, I knew Brian Clock and Laura had always been a mentor. So I'd always felt this like warm draw towards professionals in the motorcycle industry. They've been nothing but kind and respectful and encouraging. And I think in a lot of career fields or like a lot of industries, it's hard to find that type of like family, they just like a family community that just like is welcoming and embracing. And that's really how I got into motorcycling, how I progressed from racing four-wheelers to racing my 69 Camaro to racing, antique motorcycles. And I thought it could never really happen. I did not know about Wauseon. I was just really getting my feet wet with the local AMCA chapter in Sioux Falls and getting more information because I really wanted to build a board tracker. And meeting Matt, it was like meeting Prince Charming. The very first night we got to hang out, which, like I said, started off with just simple conversations on Facebook about doing pinstriping, because this is something too not a lot of people know, but one of those 3 jobs that I had was an apprentice for pinstriping. So I practiced and I trained and I tried to learn as much as I could from our local pinstriper who, I had just admired since I was 14, 15, seeing him at the car shows and at the bike shows. And his shop was about 2 miles away from where my parents' house was. So it felt really nice to be able to do an apprenticeship with him and really learn that trade. So Matt saw that I was doing all this work and I was posting it, and he had offered me a job to stripe some fenders for him that he was building for this 45 flathead, this Harley flathead. And so, but we talked about the job, then we talked about racing, and we talked about, cars and motorcycles. And then I showed him all of my pictures that I had drawn of like what my Excelsior board tracker is going to look. Oh my gosh. I will go get it actually. Hold on one second.
She's got to tell the story of
yes.
She got her engagement ring.
It's like, it's even dated. I don't know. Can you guys see this? 2009.
There you go.
So,
kept it. Awesome.
That's I still have it, and I was so proud to like show him that, like, look, I've been sketching like my future motorcycle builds. This is gonna be my first motorcycle that I build. And
so, was it Matt's idea, Brittany? Was it Matt's idea when you got engaged to not give you a ring?
Yes. So we had talked about rings, and I'm like, well, like, if it's going to be a ring, I want it to be like maybe an Excelsior motor or a Sears motor, the Spakey engine. Like maybe we'll just get something cool, something custom, but small. And I didn't really, I didn't really want a ring. So like we talked about it, but like I just thought like having a ring was not very practical. When I was like in high school and I was drag racing, I always wanted my high school boyfriend to get me pistons or like even piston rings, like just something for my small block, because racing was expensive. I'm like, you could even get me like slicks. I need every single year.
Total motorhead. So what happened? So
yes. So they never did. They would go to Walmart, they would buy me earrings, or they'd go buy me a bracelet. And I'm like, oh my gosh, like, is this really the person I want to be with for the rest of my life? Like, I am a motorhead, I'm a gearhead, and I, wanted stuff for racing. I don't need to have jewelry and stuff.
Did he actually get down on one knee with the motor?
No, but what was so funny is that we had been dating we started dating in May in 2011, and by August it was like August, it was right after Sturgis, and we had just come back and we went to the fair, and we were both wearing our Wall of Death shirts, our American Motordrome Wall of Death shirts with the little skull on it. And we're in the line for the zipper, and he's like, we should, like, what are we gonna do for our wedding? And I'm like, it'd be really cool if we had like a carnival with rides and something fun and entertaining and not just the typical wedding. And then we like at the same time just looked at each other's shirts and we're like, oh, we should call Charlie Ransom and see how much it costs to have a Wall of Death at a wedding, because we had saw pictures where, people would go to the event and then get married at the event there. And so we were like, what if we just made the wedding the event? And then they show up and
you got married. Yeah. I don't know where you got married, but it was so cool. I mean, Mike was there. They're a bunch of us. Awesome.
Yes. One of my favorite parts of the wedding was just getting to the wedding, because it was such a gorgeous ride.
Yeah.
I mean, you don't think of riding through the Dakotas like that, but I'll tell you, it was just the shape of the fields, and the light was gorgeous. It was just, everything was beautiful, and the wedding was beautiful. The light at the wedding was beautiful. I remember that too. So it was really just fun and really homey, and on the property there. It's really great.
Yeah, where we had it was at the Aberdeen Gun Club, and they actually, like they said, they had units and everything where people could hook up if they were camping. And then the way that we planned our wedding was to have it after Sturgis, so then everybody could make it. And I could have it on the 12th, which is funny because my racing number, my softball number, all my, like, I was born on the 12th. So I was like, oh, we can get married on the 12th. And then I thought to myself, I got second place a lot of times. And the Wall of Death guys were like, it would be easier if we did it on the 13th. And I'm like, maybe this is a good thing. And so that's how I got my racing number 13, is because we pushed it off one day. And I figured, because this is my wedding ring, we got married on the 13th, now my racing number is going to be 13. And I've gotten more first places with 13. So I'm glad I made the switch. People are like, It's gonna be.
So,
Guys,
let's talk about one of your first
like,
races, Brittany. So when you got your motor together, how long did it take before you did your first race? Do you remember?
Okay, so yeah, so we got the motor together for because Matt had just won Born Free 4, and then he was invited back again as a winner to build another bike. So we put in the 1923 Harley. And anyway, so we had to have the bike running. So it worked, but there was still just like we had a Bosch magneto on it, and it just wasn't firing like hot enough. Like, because a lot of these guys' bikes, like they're tuned, that you have to have good spark. I mean, everything has to like run perfect, and it just didn't seem like the spark was there. So Morris Magneto sent us. So this is gonna be kind of crazy. So the end of May, like the last week of May in 2013. That last week we get it running, we do a little bit of fine tuning, then we get it, then like into June we get it to the show, it's at the show. We work with George Hood, who's just like a master JD model guy. He's no longer with us anymore, but he was super talented with JDs. And so we brought my 23 Harley there, which is a J model, and he tried to fine tune the Bosch as best as he could, and still it just we were able to get it to run, but it just wasn't acting right. So between the 4th of July weekend and the middle of July, Morris Magneto sends us this prototype magneto for my little race bike, and it works phenomenal. It works so great. So from the end of May to the middle of July to we get it where it was pretty, at that point it was pretty dialed in. And then Wasion was my very first motorcycle race. I was 24 years old, and it was
we have
2000.
we do have some questions. Should we get some questions in from the listeners?
We get some comments and questions. We got to sneak it in.
Yeah, because here's a quick one. Dave Engel wants to know, was it Dave? Somebody asked how fast you had that Camaro going.
Oh, okay. So when it had a blower on it, when it was supercharged, we ran 1023s, and then naturally aspirated with no blower or anything. And this was so I could actually run in the high school class, because there are certain rules. You can't have superchargers or trans brakes or two-stage clutches. And I found out hard way. I had to get disqualified a few times before I passed tech on that. But and it was just so funny, because when I was 14, that's when I ran a 10-second pass, and they were like, whoa, you can't do that. So I came back, and then naturally aspirated. The best time was 11:77. Yep, at 117 miles an hour in a quarter mile. So that's not an 8.
Awesome.
So Tony Tello wants to know, what is your favorite category of motorcycle racing? Is it road racing, flat track racing, or drag racing? Good question, Tony.
Oh, it's okay. I've never drag raced a motorcycle. I love drag racing cars, and I've thought about it, but the way I like to race is I do like to work with a coach. I like to get trained first on the machine and the track, and then I like to then submit myself for a race, because I feel that extra practice work. So I've never drag raced a motorcycle, only cars.
Well, there you go. Something new.
I have to give a huge shout out to Doc and Maria Bassler, who are my very first, among my very first sponsors for 20th Century Racing, and mentors and supporters. They road race, and in 2017, they gave me the opportunity to road race the Sport Scout up at the New Hampshire Speedway there in Loudon. And I must say, it was a lot of fun. I'm much better at taking left-handed turns than right-handed turns, and having to brake is a completely out of my mind concept, because I'm so used to just flat tracking, getting it all the way into third gear, and then running it on the top of that, all the way wound out on the top of that third gear, and then backing off for engine braking, and then going again. So I'm used to not having brakes. I'm used to turning left. But what I really love about Billy Lane's race is that it's not on dirt, and that it's on a NASCAR asphalt track. And so it's like a mix. It's like you're only turning left. It's like
right.
It's almost like heaven on wheels, really. It's bumpy, it's scary. You can be going so fast, and then the person next to you can be going so fast too. But you get that asphalt, so you get traction. But I just, if you guys go to @20th Century Racing on Instagram, I just posted a picture that Michael Lichter took of me in Sturgis, and seeing that picture, I'm like, oh, but I love the dirt so much too, because then you don't have the traction, so you can get up on the tank and you can really, let that rear end loose to kind of steer and guide you around. It's really a lot of fun. And the Sturgis half mile is one of my favorite tracks. So between that Billy Lane's race in Daytona at the new Smyrna Beach Speedway there, and the Sturgis half mile, those are really just the best fun tracks. So it's a little
we
bit
have to
both.
talk about
race
Billy's race just for because people don't realize you're talking about Sons of Speed, which is Billy's race. And
yes.
the inaugural race was in 2017, and you won it. So it was the Daughters of Speed, right?
Yes.
In 2017.
Yes.
There you
And
go.
in my entire racing career.
This brings up a
go
question,
ahead.
Brittany. You mentioned that at first you said you were retired. Now you're saying partially retired. So what went into all that, into your retirement, and now maybe your thoughts of coming out of retirement to do an occasional race?
Yeah. So, okay. The best way to explain this was when I was just packing my racing van, and I had a really close friend from Rapid City message me and tell me that Jessie was gone. And I thought that were talking about that she had gone and done it, that she was the fastest woman, and that she like made that record. And this was the day before, like, it was really released or announced to anyone. And then she told me, no, Jessie passed away. She was killed in an accident trying to attempt to be the fastest woman. And so, I mean, I literally just broke down. And that weekend was going into Labor Day weekend, which is a huge racing weekend. You've got the antique races in Davenport, Iowa, and we also have the Springfield Mile. So there's vintage racing at the short track, and there's the mile pro races the day after. It's kind of like a Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday deal. And I remember going and thinking, I'm going to do this for Jessie. I'm going to win. I'm going to really show, the AMA world that us girls, especially us women from South Dakota, are fearless. We're fast. We're determined, and we're just bred differently, maybe, and the entire weekend I raced Thursday, Friday, and then I did presentation with my bike at the mile races out front, just signing autographs and stuff and meeting fans. Thursday, the bike did not run at all. And I was like, what is going on? I'm like, okay, maybe it's me. I'm not used to racing 70s bull tacos. I can ride them. I've practiced and ridden them before. I really like them. They're simple bikes to ride. And I was having just like no luck at all with this bike. So then the next day is Davenport. So, cruise, go all the way to Davenport. And I get to Davenport, mind you, I'm out here like all by myself. Matt's back at home with Locke. I drive my van out. I have my Harley. I'm going to race my Harley, and I'm racing a Bultaco for another owner of the Bultaco. So, and for a group, the Class of 79, which is a really great group of guys. And so I go, and the bike's just not running right at Davenport. So I say, I'm just going to focus on my Harley, because that's what that's what I'm comfortable and used to racing. I can race that by myself, no problem. I know it'll perform great. So I get out to the track with my board tracker, and my tires just kind of feel squishy. Like, it's the end of the season. Maybe I should have replaced the tires, but I'd be happy if I can come home at least with like a top podium finish, one, 2, or 3. I'm not going to push myself, but if I can win, I'll try to win. If I have to settle for second or third, I'm going to try to settle for second or third. Well, my bike had run out of gas in the heat laps. So I'm like, oh goodness. So I come rolling in, and I get stopped. And when you're all in gear head to toe, and you're trying to push a brakeless, transmissionless, clutchless bike with a decompression lever, it's like trying to push a motorcycle in gear. It's really, really hard. And so the four-wheeler, it has a roller on it. So he comes behind and he starts pushing me. Well, then when the other bikes come around, he makes this kind of adjustment to turn. Well, we can only go straight. So you're only supposed to go straight with us. And we were well enough off the track. But anyways, he had come around, and his side of his rollers just took out 3 of my spokes. And in 2017, I had crashed with the same Harley. And I remember like that feeling like there was telltale signs, don't go racing. And I ended up, that night, the little things that I had, we fixed. I got back out on the track, and last lap on the last turn, I flipped my 23 Harley in front of a full packed grandstands. And I thought to myself, okay, like there were warning signs. Maybe next time I should just listen to the warning signs. So that night, there was so many warning signs, and I decided just to listen to them and to just not go back out there. And I remember just bawling in the pits, and everybody's like, it's okay. You can just go back out there. And I'm like, no, I don't think you guys understand. Like, I'm not crying because I can't race. I'm crying because I lost a really good friend, somebody who I looked up to since I was a really young girl. And why am I doing this? I'm doing it without the people that I love here. I'm just out here by myself.
I totally can relate to that, Brittany, because Jesse and I had a conversation in Sturgis about, I was just getting ready to do the chase, all by myself, without my crew, without my mechanic, everybody. Wow. And she was really nervous, and I was really nervous, and I felt so bad. So I can totally relate to what you went through. But, let's take a quick break. We'll come back. I really want to show some photos of you and talk about some other things that you're going to be doing in the future. So can we just do a little break right now? And we'll come back and show some pictures, okay? Hang on. We'll be right back.
See you in a bit.
All right, everybody, hang on.
Everything we do at the track shapes what we build for the street and the dirt.
You can see how bad these guys want it. A race to the line.
For us, racing is not for the trophies or the glory. We compete because it makes everything we do faster, more durable, and tested to a higher standard. For S&S, racing is the ultimate in proven performance, and we've been proving it since 1958.
Hi, I'm Tom. I'm with Banks Brothers Motorcycles. One of the things I want to show you today is our new improved engine puller.
The changes to this machine has been in the arms and in the hands. We put hind joints in the hand to allow rotation of the engine, which makes it easier to get it in and out of the frame. With the angle change, we have equal clamping pressure on them. And over here we have what's called the Posi Lock, which allows this to be locked in place and the engine can't swing from side to side.
And we're going to show you just how easy it is to pull the motor out of the bike right now. George is actually going to come in, make contact with the cylinders, tighten it down, and pull it out of there.
You lift it up, rotate it, and bring the assembly out of the frame. You see the motor starting to move, and it centers itself. This allows no side play once the motor's in place, and it keeps it safe. It can't fall out.
Visit BanksBrothersMotorcycles.com to order your Banks lift.
Tennessee. Oh my God. I wish I was going now.
I can't wait.
The very first one. I don't know how many years they've been doing this, and I just couldn't make it.
They've done it a few years. I posted today just that I was going, and I used a photo from the big mountain run. And I had such great memories. So really, I know I've been through Tennessee with the chase, but that's riding through it. So the last event I really was at and hung out in Tennessee was the BMR, I think in 2012, a long time ago. And I'll tell you, Chris Callan and the Cycle Source crew put on one hell of a party. And so I'm hoping that it has some of that, and maybe we'll get Big Mountain Run to come back. Maybe they'll come to Colorado and do our big mountains. Hey, the horses like that.
Yeah.
All righty.
Let's do our little segment that we have.
Yes, please. Okay, we have a wonderful segment here. It's Women in Motorcycle History. These are women out of Chris's book. And tonight we're going to have Dot. Is that correct, Chris?
I think so.
All righty. Let's cut right to it and see what you did with it. tell us a little bit about history.
Hi everyone, welcome to this week's edition of Incredible Women of Motorcycling History. Today I'm proud to introduce you to Dot Robinson, America's First Lady of Motorcycling. Dot was actually not born in the U.S. She was born in Melbourne, Australia in 1912 into a motorcycling family. Her father, Jimmy Goulding, invented the Goulding sidecar. When Dot was 11 years old, her family moved to Michigan, where her dad opened a Harley-Davidson dealership, where she ran for several years. When Dot was 16 years old, she got her first motorcycle. She was raised in the business and actually worked in the shop doing the books, where she met her husband. Customer Earl Robinson used to come in, and the two had a whirlwind motorcycling adventure romance, got married, and did lots of riding together. Dot had won her first trophy in 1930 for some competitive sidecar endurance races. She did lots of gypsy tours and things like that, where she was the only woman competitor. There weren't any women's competitions up until classes until 1960s. Dot had her daughter Betty, and the story I got from Betty was that, I don't know, they didn't take a car, maybe they didn't have a car to the hospital when she was born, but when she came home from the hospital in the sidecar, wrapped in a blanket, up in the nose of the sidecar next to a hot water bottle. Betty started riding also at age 16. It became her mom's riding companion. They went all over the country. They were featured in Life magazine articles. In 1935, Dot and Earl opened up a Harley-Davidson dealership, which they ran until 1971. Dot was well known for many, many years for all her things done with motorcycling, but most famously was the Motormaids. In 1939, her friend Linda Dugo encouraged her, let's start a club for women motorcyclists. And so Dot rode all over the place trying to find women who owned and rode their own motorcycles. And in 1941, she had 53 women signed up to be charter members of the Motormaids. Dot was the first president of the club, an office she held for over 25 years. She set many, many records, did many rides. Her and Earl did transcontinental sidecar endurance rides. The whole family was really into motorcycles. Dot had ridden over 1.5 million miles over the years, and she owned 35 Harley-Davidson motorcycles. She had been awarded the prestigious Dud Perkins Award in 1979. In 1998, she was inducted into the AMA's Hall of Fame. She passed away in 1999, but her legacy lives on through the Motormaids, and her granddaughter Dottie, named after her, is a member of the Motormaids and a really cool person too. So I just wanted you to know a little bit about Dot Robinson. There's more about her on the web, or you can look her up in my book, The American Motorcycle Girls, 1900 to 1950. Thanks.
Wow, that's so cool. Thank you so much. I mean, and it's so neat that she was inducted before she died, and also being part of that, the shop. It reminds me of Gloria as well, huh?
Yeah, that family legacy. You know, I'm so lucky I got to meet Dot and her daughter Betty, and then third generation Dottie also. So, just, families that ride motorcycles together. I mean, it brings us back to Brittany right around,
There you go.
Still going on. And I know Brittany would be excited to see all that stuff with Dot because she's really into the history stuff. So I want to talk to Brittany and bring her back and talk a little bit about what it's like to be a mom and be in motorcycle world and try to balance all this stuff.
You know what? I want to bring photo number 3 up as we talk about what it's like to be a mom in a motorcycle family. Oh no, number 4, I believe it is. If my memory is failing me. Yes, number 4. That'd be great.
So
okay, that's what it's like to grow up in a motorcycle family. I mean, Locke thinks he's breastfeeding there.
Yeah, I have like a huge sequence of photos of him just, when he cut his teeth or when his teeth came in like 2, 3, 4 at a time. His teeth literally all came in at once, which was nice, but it meant that and I did nurse him. So there would be times that, yes, like certain, like the headlight picture, yeah, he's like totally nursing on it. And then we've got like wrenches, and for the longest time so on like the Hydroglide forks on panheads, they have these like little kind of like, like they go on top of the outside of like they've kind of got the pressed tin that kind of goes over the front end. Anyways, it's kind of like a little like nipple or pacifier thing. Well, he found one. I don't know, Matt had brought it in through a coat or something, or came in a box. And when he was like a little tiny infant, literally until like just this year, he just finally like gave it back to his dad. Those like the two little, I don't know, top fork nut things. But then he would just chew and gnaw on those. Wrenches, he'd chew and gnaw on those too. It really,
I remember
like,
always seeing the pictures of Locke when he was really small, sitting on like the floorboard of the knucklehead. Like you guys would take different pictures of him on the knuckleheads. So it's just
what we did for like a baby growth photo is we did every single year of knuckleheads. So we started at 36 and we went to the 37, 38, 39. So as every single month, we've got him somewhere. Like we try to save all of our photos.
With having a baby though, like when you went racing, I mean, how was it? Was it a hard job?
Well, of course, I think like this is a common thing with first moms. Like you want to do everything right. You want to have an amazing birth. You have a birthing plan. You want to have it naturally. So I actually knew that I was going to be racing the next year, and I had gotten pregnant at the end. I actually, like the last race, this is so funny. And Chris, maybe you'll remember this. Remember I was supposed to be in the parade and I overslept it. Do you remember that? The Harley, the 110th parade? So we went from the races and then we drove all night long, got a room right outside, just in like the suburban area of Milwaukee. And Matt's like, wake up, you've got to be in the parade. Wake up, you've got to be in the parade. And I'm like, I can't get up. I think it was the racing. I overdid it. Well, I was 3 weeks pregnant and I had no idea. And so later on in that day, I had a meet and greet and was taking pictures with people, meeting people. And at 2:30, I had then a meeting with the social media manager at Harley Davidson, and Matt and I were going to teach him how to ride a 36 knucklehead. And then they were going to put it on their social media feed. And it's like 2:00, we're waiting, and we decided to get like cheese curds and like bacon cheeseburgers at this pub. And I get half of my cheese curds. And I'm like, I fall asleep on the picnic or like on the outdoor like table. And Matt's like, wake up. People are going to think you're drunk. Like you can't act like this in the middle of the day. And I'm like, I'm just so tired. I don't know what's wrong.
Really stepped up. Matt, I mean, I have to say he was really behind you. He was always there. Oh,
100%. Yeah.
You and Carol, you have a wonderful family, because it really does take a family to do all that. I mean, I know from my own experience, having a magazine and having 2 young children, my mom was right there for me when I needed her too.
It has been so great, because just having a supportive family makes a huge difference, but also being able to, like, until Locke really started school, we brought him to every single event, to every single race. And there was even some where Matt was at home. You gonna say hi? Can you come in? You can come in.
Hi, Locke. You can come and say hi to us, because we're talking about you. Hi, buddy. How are you?
Okay.
Hey, tell us about Locke's Mother's Day card, real quick. Can you tell us about Locke's Mother's Day card?
Yeah. So that was from last year. Okay, hold on 1 second.
This is Rob Nussbaum that asked about it.
Yeah, I knew what he was.
So last year at school, they had like a questionnaire where they had to fill in. Okay, shh, be quiet, okay? So we had gotten our, Mother's Day card, and he talks about like, it's simple, like, how old is your mom? What is your mom really, what is your mom the best at? And so he's like, racing motorcycles. She, I love my mom because she wins a lot of trophies and gave me $2. And, I love her meatloaf, which is so funny because this was like just when COVID lockdowns were like beginning. And I had made meatloaf for the first time ever in my life. And Matt and him and I loved it. We loved it so much. It was really good. I was just glad it
And
made
your
an
meatloaf.
impression.
Oh my God, you're gonna be remembered for your meatloaf forever now.
I know.
Trophies, of course, those are cool. But my mom makes the best meatloaf.
Yeah.
Yeah, here's a quick question for you that this is from, sorry about that. It's a little bit off topic. It's
No.
about your filing cabinets.
Oh, yeah.
Oh my
And
gosh.
who is it? Oh, it was Keith Kronoff asked, how old are those is that vintage filing cabinet? He says it's very cool. He realizes
Thank
it's
you
off topic,
so
but he's
much.
curious about it.
So we actually got the filing cabinet from the old school, and it came from the original high school in Aberdeen. And so let me see if I have like an empty one. I don't know, they all have here. This is a good one. Okay. I don't know if you guys can see this, but it has a glue and pasted thing, and it's got dates dating back to 1896.
Wow, that is cool.
In 1902. Yeah, so it has like,
1901.
Yeah, it looks like a card library from the library. My daughter's a library person, so it does look like a library catalog.
Yeah, it's very similar, but it just has these like really thin, and then below it has these like wide.
It's really neat. Wow, you're so silly.
Can we roll through some more photos? We have a bunch of photos we haven't
I love
seen.
the one with Brittany in the snow. The one with number 7 was really awesome.
Yeah, we could just go in order.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Sure.
Knucklehead in the snow.
Cool. I don't know how far you'd be going like that without a hat on, but in Aberdeen. And that last one, the next one is from the Hand Built show. When it seemed like you did a lot of touring there for a while. This was part of that when you were touring bikes, and I remember running into you at the Hand Built.
Well, this one, what was really great about like this Hand Built show was, so this is the first time, one, I'd ever been to Austin, Texas, and then two, it's where I made the announcement to the press and media that I was going to be campaigning at the Race the Gentleman, and try, my goal was to, if not inspire more women to join antique motorcycling and not be afraid of old bikes. And it was just a huge passion that I had. And I was just coming off of being, the AMCA youth director. So after that, I really wanted to focus on the racing, focus on the family, but then also, and this is like Chris had always told me when I was pregnant and when I had just had luck, that I can do it all. I can go out, I can still race. I don't have to quit. I can be a mom, and I can also be, who I am, a motorcycle racer, a motorcycle ambassador, a motorcycle, like antique motorcycle enthusiast, because you just can't, you can't just let life take away your passions. And that's what I'm super passionate about. And I've been very fortunate to have people like that inspire me along the way. So I went to Austin, Texas, and it was Lockheed and I. We drove together to Colorado to pick up and then from Colorado, we drove down with the owner of the 101. So that bike was also there too. That was the blue bike that Matt had built, and that was the bike that I first raced at the Race the Gentleman. And so to have that bike, which is such a beautiful, amazing bike, and then to also have my 23 Harley, it's really it was really like a 1-2 combo. It was great to say, this is the bike that I race on dirt half-mile tracks, and this is the bike I'm going to race on the beach. And I loved the response that we had received with that news. And then also, that's just, one of those events when it was at the old building, in the new building too, I like as well, but the old building when it was off of Congress, I think, but it was just and it had the wall of death. Like it brought back so many fun memories of my wedding. There were so many people there too that were at my wedding, and it just was great.
I think it's great that Lockheed's going to have all these great memories. I mean, I see my daughter watching the show tonight. So she grew up just like I dragged them everywhere when they were little. They went to a lot of motorcycle events, and I took my son to a hog rally when he was 6 weeks old. So I definitely know what you're feeling there. But I just love your photo, Brittany, and the fact that you did, you really have to be yourself. And I think your kids, I think it sets a good example to them that they can be a mom and still do things that they want to do. Someone wants to know, do you want to do the cannonball? You saw that just come up.
The cannonball, that was one of those things too. You know, my racing coach and I, Jim Wall, we had talked about entering an Indian and doing the Indian, but with the cannonball, and like Chris, you know this too, it's so rigorous. It is very expensive. And when I was racing and directing a lot of our sponsorship dollars and directing a lot of our own personal funding to do the racing, it was really to do like flat track racing. So it was hard to allocate and be like, okay, you know, Brittany Olson is going to do the cannonball, because it is such a, it's a huge preparation. You know, it takes a year or two to get the bike done. And then on top of that, then you have to take the time away from actually doing the you know, it's only 2 weeks, but really it takes a month. You know, you get there about really,
you really do. There's too many events. You really have to pick and choose. And
so
you know, maybe
like
someday you will. You know, maybe you're not done yet, right?
Yeah, I like the idea of the chase. Matt and I, we have this grand idea, and this is like something that we had planned like before we even got married. It was like something that we were like, okay, when we're together for 13 years, we'll take a 13 Excelsior and a 13 Sears, and we'll just go cross country for our 13th anniversary. So, you know, I'm looking forward to things like that. I do want to do the cannonball, but I just think like at the moment it's not that I don't want to do it. I would love to do it, but I'm really looking forward to doing that with Matt for our 13th anniversary. Maybe it'll be through the cannonball, but maybe it's just going to be something we do on our own. I love the cannonball though. I miss Lonnie. I miss Lonnie Jr. so much. And I really miss that. A lot of people, you know, I have actually done a couple cannonballs. I haven't rode myself, but my husband rode. That was our honeymoon. We'd had a cannonball honeymoon. And then we also did the cannonball golden ticket, where we raffled off a ticket for one winner to have an all expense paid trip to go from Daytona. And that's when I went to Tacoma, Washington. So I've experienced it that way. I haven't experienced it being a rider, but you know, maybe someday. But I am so happy that Jason Sims has taken it over, and he's doing such a wonderful job with it.
Well,
and I love the idea of
to look forward to in the future. Hey, someone wants to know, are you going to be racing the Sons of Speed in October? Are you going to be?
Not in October. I will say this though. So if you guys are interested in seeing me race, I am going to race in Wauseon, Ohio in mid-July. I am going to get my 28 Indian. So, and this was what's really cool too. So I've never actually had this bike on a track. I haven't had it on a track. The only debut and the only place it's ever ran, besides on our old oil highway right here for testing and tuning, was we literally had just finished it. It was supposed to go to Born Free. I didn't have the motor done in time, so I had to cancel that plan. But in the same respect, I was also invited to Goodwood, and so the goal then was to at least have it done by Goodwood, and then we'd run it up the hill climb. So I was able to bring the bike to the Festival of Speed, which is a huge honor and a huge event to be there and to attend. So it's the only place that's ever actually ran. So I'm excited
where that is, because a lot of people might not know where that is.
Yeah. So the Goodwood Festival of Speed is in England, and it's next to it'd be like Chichester, England. And you know, we had the bike. Matt drove the bike up to Canada. It had a one-way flight from Calgary to Gatwick, London, England airport there. So, and then from there, we rented a little like VW Eurovan, and we then drove it down into Goodwood, and it's just a huge event. There's 175,000 people that are there physically attending. There's over 600 international press and media relations there, and then it's broadcasted over 20 different television networks around the globe. So it's a huge event. Formula One racers, NASCAR racers. We got to meet Richard Petty. He was there as an American racer. Bobby Lamonte.
You've gotten to do so many amazing things, Brittany. I'm very, very proud of you, and I wish we had more time to talk, because I know there's so much more people want to ask you. But so where can people find out more about you? 20th Century Racing, your website?
Yeah. Yep. So 20thcenturyracing.com. I am on the social media. So I'm on Facebook. I am reaching that 5,000. I always try to go through and just make sure I don't have already at 5,000, but you can follow along, and I see everybody who follows, and you can comment and like and all that. We're also on Instagram. That's the best way if you want to reach out, or if you want to follow along on, the family stuff. It's just at 20th Century Racing. And yeah, that's a little glimpse of my life.
There you are in a little bicycle thing there, Betty.
Yeah, there it is. Yep, Betty Bicycle.
Well, it's great to see you, Brittany, and I really can't wait to see you. Maybe at Sturgis. You're going to be in Sturgis this year.
I'm not sure. I know we're doing the Utah AMCA Road Run beginning of next month, and then we're going to be in Wauseon, Ohio, and then we're also going to be in Billings. I think we're going to try to do Sturgis. I'm just not quite sure yet what Sturgis is going to foretell, which is kind of crazy because I used to have so much going on, but with COVID, it really kind of slimmed down the events. And even though Sturgis was still going on, a lot of our guys in the shop, and we live right next to Grandma and Grandpa, so we just did not want to spread COVID. We didn't want it if we came sick.
Well,
we didn't want to get our workforce sick. So
that's right. Awesome. Yeah. Well, you know what? I just want to thank you for being on. You're one of my girls that you're close to my heart. I just love you.
Thank you.
And, we'll see you sometime this summer. I know Michael looks forward to seeing you too.
Absolutely. Hopefully in Sturgis.
Thank you guys. I know that's why I was like, gosh, I wish we could all just be in Tennessee right now. I'm representing by wearing my Nashville shirt, even though I know it's not in Nashville, but I just I love what they're doing out there so much, and I just love that an event is happening, it's going on. I love that Sturgis happened last year, and I just felt I felt like the motorcycling community just, we're going to go out and, we're going to do the things that we need to be safe. But at the same breath, it's really nice that the world's kind of coming back to normal. So
well, keep doing what you're doing. Kiss that husband of yours for me, maybe not for Mike.
You can give him a hug for me.
Tell
yes,
Carl.
I will.
We go back.
I feel like he should be right here, but then it would probably he needs his own show and Carl needs his own show because they're
this is our show. That's right.
A hug to your father-in-law too, and mother-in-law.
Yeah, everybody, we love you. You take care.
Hugs to the whole family.
Thank you.
Right on.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye.
I'm actually closer to that family than you think. I had to share a bed with Carl Olsen.
Oh God.
On the Cannonball. He ended up in some places that we ended up having to share. Thankfully, it was a king size. I actually slept with my helmet on. Now, it's not because I was afraid of him. Man, does he snore. I had earplugs and my helmet on.
Carl's a good guy.
Can you imagine?
I had to ride on the back of his rack on his knucklehead in Sturgis a couple of years ago because I didn't have a ride.
Well, I rode coast to coast backwards on the back of his panhead.
I know you have, definitely.
No, it was a knuckle or pan. I can't remember now. I think it was a pan. I think it was a 53 pan.
Yeah,
that's right. So a good family, certainly, and they do great work. One thing I didn't ask, but you could probably answer for me. Is she a motor maid?
Yes.
She is?
Yes. Gloria sponsored her. Yes, she is a motor maid.
Gotcha.
Yes.
Cool. I do have another announcement. I would certainly want to thank our listeners as well, but I want to make one announcement that we updated our logo, and I did make a slight change to the name of the exhibition in Sturgis. I said I didn't want to really talk about it because it reminded me how far behind I am. Maybe Chris can bring up that logo, and I'm unveiling it here for the very first time. This is the first place this is being seen, and it was called Heavy Metal last year. This is part 2. We're calling it More Metal, and these are the survivors, and I think that's even more apt now that they've gone through well over a year of COVID, that not only did they these builders have all been 20 years or more, 20 bikes or more. They've been in the business for a long time, and they survived economic ups and downs in the general economy, in our industry, but now they've survived COVID. So I think the title is very appropriate. And these will be all brand new bikes this year. Last year we had legacy bikes. This will be all new. So I just wanted to make that announcement. I hope everybody can come and see the show.
Awesome. Yeah, I know I'll be there. And Biker Bells and a few other things we'll do. again, let's thank our sponsors.
Oh, one more thing. Sorry. And there will be a whole article on the last heavy metal in the next Cycle Source. So I could mention that. Plug Cycle Source because they do such a good job for us. Sorry about that, Chris.
Select a couple of bikes and put it in the magazine. That's great.
Yeah.
Well, thank you to S&S Cycles tonight and Banks Brothers and the Tennessee Motorcycle Music and Revival. That's the name of it. And next week, our guest on Coast to Coast is going to be the wonderful Open Road Radio Gina Woods, a friend of mine from many, many years. The Cannonball Show tomorrow night. Their guest is Paul Warrenfeld, which would be, I love that show too. I try not to ever miss that show.
Awesome. And I'd like to call out to some of our regular listeners. Speaking of the Cannonball, Jason Sims was on tonight, as he has been most weeks, as well as his wife. But interestingly enough, Leanne was on a different computer or somewhere. So hopefully they're not fighting. It's probably just a big house. They're in Arizona. Steve Broyles, always wonderful to see him. Nancy Keener, David Crum, Brian Pelletier, Rob Nussbaum, the other part of the Cannonball Chronicles tomorrow. Tom Kiefer, a Sons of Speed racer. He's also in my exhibition this summer. Holly Perry, eBay Jacob. Now, I've never heard him called that, but that's what it's written, eBay Jacob. But that's eBay Jake to anybody that knows Sons of Speed racing. He is a pistol on the track. He's awesome. Walt Lumpkin, Laurie De Silva, and of course your lovely daughter Lindsay. And then from overseas or out of our country, we have the Road Buddies MC Mustafa from Libya, Derek Webster from Canada. We had someone from Thailand, but I cannot read Thai, so I have no idea what that script says. I can't thank him personally. Bula from Fiji, a new listener. Mike Podger, a regular from Prince Edward Island with the best muscles in the world. So there you go. That's really nice.
Cannonball Chronicles, 9 p.m. tomorrow night. And then Thursday night is Torque, the new show Torque, which I really, really like at 9 p.m. Eastern Time. And then, of course, Shop Talk. Boosted Brad is going to be on Torque Thursday. Great.
A very full schedule for Source Media this week.
Stop talking. But thank you, everybody. Have a great week. Michael, have fun.
Thank you. I will. I'm looking forward to it. It's going to be.
Pack up all that stuff right now.
I know. I got to go out and pack right now because I haven't packed yet. So I got a lot of work to do tonight.
Good night, everybody. Be safe out there. Thank you again to Cycles First Media Group, Heather and Chris, all our people that keep coming back every week. Thank you so much for supporting our show, and we'll see you next week.
Thank you for coming back, everybody. We'll see you next week. Bye.